Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Sunny's guest today is Susanne Stover, Chief Financial Officer of our very own IT by Design. Susanne brings to us a vast knowledge of the keys to financial success in the MSP channel, starting with her impressive professional journey from public accounting to driving strategic growth for large corporations. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kayla. Over to you, Sunny.
Hi, Susanne. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so we have very interesting background here. And I remember, Susanne, you were working at Rosa Mexicano when the first time we met. Because we came to see you when we were MSP in New York City, and that was around 2007, 2008. That was the first time I met you, because when you were, I think it was 52nd Street and Broadway, around there. That's where the Rosa Mexicano headquarters was.
Yes, 7th Ave and 54th, I think.
Yeah, right next
right
to
around there.
Times Square. Because I remember whenever I used to go there was a very famous deli that was like downstairs somewhere there. And then I used to go upstairs after having my sandwich there. And then that was the first time I met you there.
Yep. I think it was Stage Deli.
Yes. Very famous. A lot of tourists go there. I don't know about now that not too many people are in there. I mean, in Midtown Manhattan, close to Times Square. But at that time, it used to be, that is the center of the universe. That's where, we used to see a lot of people. So time flies, 2007 to 2021. Wow.
Yeah, it has been a long time.
Yeah, and I remember we were at 953rd Avenue when we got that lead of Rosa Mexicano, and we got excited about this. And Rosa Mexicano was, I think, a very kind of maybe 2-3 locations at that time. It was a small business, but I remember not taking subway that day. We were able to just walk from 57 and 3rd, 953rd Avenue to your location. And that's where, this relationship started.
Yes.
Yeah. Until you came on board full time as our global CFO of IT by Design.
Yes. I think we talked about working together in the interim a couple times, and then it really worked out in 2020 to be able to come and join such a great company and wonderful people.
Thank you, Susanne. So now let's get into your journey, your professional journey. So Susanne, give me a quick brief, like your professional journey, so that our viewers, our partners, they get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. So I started in public accounting and became a CPA in Boston, Massachusetts. And then I moved out to California to work for the Walt Disney Company. And I became a business unit controller there, as well as finance manager for a couple smaller businesses. And then the heyday of internet startup companies was happening. So I joined an internet startup company and learned a lot about the start and end of a business, which was really interesting. I also worked as a VP of finance for a $200 million private company. So got a chance to have that kind of higher level of working in a mid-sized company to larger company. And then I was at California Pizza Kitchen for a little while, got into the restaurant business there. And they were a public company, so really got immersed in all of the SEC requirements and everything that is involved there. And then I really wanted to come back to the East Coast and was recruited by Rosa Mexicano Restaurants to come back. And that was my first CFO role. So that was really interesting. I got involved in debt financing and raising equity. and really growing that business to about $100 million of revenue. So it was a really exciting journey to, see that that grow, and also being able to meet wonderful people like you and him, and that was a great journey. And then I joined New York Racing Association as the CFO and SVP there. And New York Racing Association handles the Belmont Stakes, which most people have heard of for the Triple Crown, and Saratoga Racing and Aqueduct. And that was really interesting because it's $1 billion of gross sales and then $400 million of net revenue. So a bigger company with a long history. So very interesting to kind of get into all of that. So those are kind of some of the highlights before joining IT by Design.
Yeah, and we are so lucky that finally we were able to kind of work together. And you are our leader now. You have seat on the table. And so when we look at IT by Design's journey, and it's that MSP to master MSP, now we are at a stage where we need an experienced leader like you to build our structures, to get to the next level. And that was the whole reason why we wanted you on board. And thank you for your interest in that association and coming and joining our leadership team. And now I'm going to talk about a typical MSP persona. And when you look at MSP, so when we came to see you in 2007, IT by Design was not even 15 people, MSP, and have kind of small businesses in New York City. And that's when we were even, IT by Design, typical MSP that we now serve. And so normally they have only either their office manager will do the bookkeeping, and they have the CPA come in and do the review books once a month, once a quarter, or they will have like one staff accountant. So that's the typical MSP when you're talking about 15, 20 people MSP structure. And so I want us to, because you have so much experience, so much wisdom, leadership to the finance domain skills, and you have worked for small businesses, big businesses, you have seen it all. And you are in that position where you can advise our partners for their finance success. So I want to ask you, what that right structure, what is important for a small business to make sure their finance division is so well put together as a small business that their business need is served and they are successful as a business. So talk to me about best practices there.
Yes, so I think that there are 3 best practices that come to mind. So first is having an effective business plan. That is really important, even as a small business, to be able to do that. Second is really utilizing systems to be able to make sure your processes are running smoothly, things aren't getting missed, and you're being efficient. And then have a strong finance staff. And at the beginning, as you said, it may be one staff accountant, and really, choosing the right person who can really help, strengthen everything for the MSP, for the business.
Great. So business plan, systems, and the finance team. So let's talk about business planning a little bit, business goals, business planning. Can you talk to me in terms of what good looks like for a MSP to have the right business plan, business goals, or that first best practice that you shared with us? Can you elaborate on that? What good looks like for a company to do well in that area?
Yeah, so I think probably a lot of, MSPs might have a vision of where they want to be, like in, 3 years, 5 years, or whatever. But it's important to have a business plan that really maps that out for them. And so that's where, there might be opportunity. So business plan or budget really breaks that down into the next 1 year. So as you think about the vision, and it might be, you want to acquire 100 customers in 3 years. well, what do you need to achieve today to be able to, achieve that overall 3-year goal? So you might say, okay, I want to, acquire 25 customers this year, because there's, compound growth, to be able to achieve 100 over 3 years. And then you can ask the questions of, hey, what do I need from a sales team? What do I need from marketing support, and so forth? And you ask all those questions. So a good business plan really asks those questions about, it identifies those 1-year goals to achieve your vision. And then it really gives you a roadmap of, how to achieve it. So, you're reflecting on any history that you have and all the information, and really thinking about the future, about what you want to do, and laying that all out. And then you want to obviously match up that your revenues are higher than your expenses. So you're making a profit, and you kind of go through that process. And then when you have that business plan, you can really refer to that and use that throughout the year to be able to execute on.
Yeah. And so talk to me about the cadence. So when a small business should be doing their annual planning for the next year, and then also how frequently they should revisit that plan to make sure that they're on track, or if off track, they have a plan or pivot to get back on track.
Yeah. So most companies are calendar year basis. So you want to do your business plan really in Q4. You don't necessarily want to do a business plan much earlier, because you want to have the benefit of whatever history and current information you have. So you run a risk if you do try to do a business plan, say in June or July, and then something happens with the business, you're just going to have to redo it. So the more kind of information you have, you want to do that. But you want to have it done before the beginning of the year, so you have your roadmap in place that you're going to track against. So usually, it depends on, how long it takes, what your resources are. But let's say November, December is really a good time frame. You might have some pre-planning that you're doing in October, but really November, December is the bulk of when you're going to get the budget done and really have that set up. And then you have that to evaluate through the year. And you really want to look at your activity, your results, at least on a monthly basis against that budget. So you can see how you're tracking. And ideally, your revenues are exceeding your budget, or at least meeting it. Your expenses are lower than your budget or meeting it. Those are, two of those pieces. Yeah. And then to the extent that, your revenues are down, you can make adjustments for the expenses to bring it back in line. So that's really, thinking about at least that monthly. And then if there are, big things going on, big changes in the business, it might be more frequent. You might be, doing some different things to try to get back on track with it.
Got it. Now, is there anything changing, or is there any best practice that businesses will have to add just because of this kind of 2021, 2021 are special years. And I know in 2020, we did a lot of webinars on creating 3 plans, your worst case scenario, best case scenario, so that, it's easy to pivot and also see, okay, are you kind of overall, planning for the worst and hoping for the best type of strategy. So is there anything special that you think businesses should be doing in the environment that we are in right now with 2021, with the vaccine out there, but still it's not kind of really normal. Even now, normal is different than 2019 normal. So anything that you want to share with us, like something that people should be doing different in their business planning and goal, and revisiting that plan?
Yeah, it has been a unique time period. And, typically, best practice would say that you set your budget for the year, and then, you evaluate against those goals. And unless there are like really extreme circumstances that make your budget really not, valuable anymore, in which case you go through a rebudget exercise. So I think 2020 certainly saw a lot of companies go through and do that and rebudget. And the point of that is, if you have all of this really new information about how things are going, you can just really reset and really make sure you have new goals for, for your revenues and for the resulting expenses. Definitely the 3 scenario of a budget, it can be helpful so that if something is going off, you can immediately kind of look to, okay, our sales are off, 20%. This is the result on expenses, and we need to freeze these positions or whatever we need to do with that. So the other, just alternate is, as you're going through, if you're noticing that you're really off on these months, is that you do take those actions. And again, it's usually depending on if you have open positions or whatever, but you really kind of go down to what is really necessary so that you can make it, weather the storm and make it through that.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great advice. Thank you. And so in terms of, one thing that I want to ask, because there's so much M&A going on in the MSP channel, and is there anything special that needs to be there? So from in the business planning and goals, when your growth strategy is not only organic, you want to acquire other MSPs and grow. And where you have been there, done that with Rosa Mexicano, where you said, okay, maybe, like you had a lot of experience there with raising debt and growing, and some strategies you might have used in the past, in various roles. Is there any advice in terms of something that needs to be added in terms of business planning and goals from the M&A perspective?
Well, whenever you're thinking about M&A, you definitely want to make sure that you're very clear on, if you're looking to acquire, that you're really clear on what you want to acquire, how it's going to fit into your existing business. So, if you're looking to just, augment what you have, if you're looking to have some very specific customers in a different geographic area that you're not in, so that you're really clear on your goals of what you're trying to acquire. Mm-hmm. And then you want to be clear on what the value of that is to your business. Mm-hmm. So, what the value of your business is, and if it's expanding your geographic reach or whatever that is, you can, kind of calculate and think about what that is worth to you, to make sure that you have that value before. There's always like some values that are imposed by the market, but you need to be clear on what the value is to you to make sure that it's worth it. And then it's really thinking about how you're going to do that. Mm-hmm. So if you have the cash, great. That's obviously very easy. But sometimes even if you have the cash, that's not the best way to go. So you think about debt as a way of leveraging, because you can really expand and do things. And if you have the right financial situation, you can really think about, raising debt and being able to, leverage that so that you can, make a good, acquisition that maybe you wouldn't be able to do with cash, or you might want to save your cash for something else. So, you kind of, to me, you think about your goals first, then you think about how you're going to finance that.
Great, thank you. Now you talked about systems. So let's talk about systems, importance of systems, especially in the context of MSP channel. So can you talk to us about systems, the importance, and what are the best practices there? What good looks like with finance systems?
Yeah, so systems are really important to be able to streamline, make your processes rigorous, make sure you're really handling the things that you need to handle. So, depending on, what the different activity is, specific to MSPs, what's really critical is your billing and AR systems. So you want to have a really well-defined process of everything that goes on with that, and then really think about what system can help support, that process. So, ConnectWise, for example, is a great system that really captures all of your customer data, tracks, all of your, the history of the customer, what needs to happen, and also integrates with Connect Booster as a payment system. So then it automates all of your payments as well. And that just really makes sure that you're keeping on top of, your most important, system, arguably, of your accounts receivable and billing, and it really just helps automate it. It helps so that it's not as person dependent. You don't have one person who's just tracking something in Excel and sending things out. You're having it all systematized and able to, just really manage it from that perspective.
Yeah, no, that's that's really, really important in the MSP world, especially when your billing happens in the beginning of the month. And Connect Booster is a great tool that can help with any tool that you're using, like ConnectWise you mentioned, Datto, Kaseya, Connect Booster gets integrated with those tools, and then your billing automation can save a lot of labor cost as well. The manual work, the man hours from manual billing versus just automating this whole process to in terms of automated payments as well, and less collection pain as well, Susanne.
Yes, that is not a favorite activity of many people. So the more that you can reduce that, the better.
Yes. Now let's talk about team. So you mentioned, importance of having a good team. So can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, so I think for a small MSP, as you said, is probably going to be one person to handle the accounting. So it's really important, I think, to have the right person there, to support the business for that stage it's in. And so I think, certainly critical process is, again, the billing and AR. So, and then there's, some other activities that become important. I would look for, a staff accountant, someone who has a degree in accounting, probably has, 2 to 3 years of experience. And audit experience is always really helpful because that just gives you just this different level of exposure and approach to things. You definitely want someone who understands accounting packages, and Excel is always very important. I look for someone, if there's that one role, who can handle the very detailed transactional accounting tasks like the billing and AR. But can also have a little bit of the bigger picture and handle some of like the financial accounting. So you're getting into the monthly reporting, being able to assist with budget and so forth. So that really well-rounded individual can really be a strong support for the business for what it needs and growing into it. And then as the business gets a little bit bigger, you might, consider 2 staff accountants. So you have one who's really focused on that transactional kind of stuff, the AR and billing. And then someone who can handle a little bit more of that, the financial accounting analysis and planning and so forth.
Right. And so having that auditing experience, having a degree, and then having some experience in terms of tools like QuickBooks. So that's what you look for. Now, on top of that, like in terms of attributes of a good accounting person, like that are more like soft skills, or from the culture perspective, core values perspective, what do you look for?
So accounting is definitely one of those positions you need absolutely 100% integrity, because you're dealing with financial information, very sensitive, everything that's going on. So that's definitely very key. From soft skill perspective, there is a balance of people who are detail oriented. So you need to be detail oriented, whatever the role may be. But then, like I said, I also look for someone who can, appreciate the bigger picture of things. I always look for someone who is passionate about accounting and business, because if you're not passionate about it, you're probably not going to be good at it. And I look for someone who really embraces learning and wants new opportunities, especially in a small business. There's just, sometimes there's different hats to wear, and you want someone who can do that and also want to do that. So I definitely look for that as a soft skill as well.
Very nice. Where are these people, Susanne? So in the past, where have you had success in terms of hiring?
Yeah, so I've had success in, again, if you focus on, to me, some like, audit firms with people who've been, staff there for, 2 or 3 years. Usually it's going to be the smaller firms that, will have someone that then wants to join a small company after 2 to 3 years. So I think that's where there's, a lot of opportunity to find someone good for your team.
Okay. And now I know there's another thing that like when you look at 2021, 2020, and one major change that I see is that a lot more MSPs, my MSP friends, they are more open to hire people from anywhere. And that means a remote workforce or distributed teams. And you are doing that. So you are providing the remote leadership to your distributed team. You have people here in New Jersey. You are sitting in Maine, and you have team members in our India office. So you're living that, right? So you have been living this. And so my question there is, what is your advice for a business owner to be successful with their remote accounting person?
So it's interesting because I think, there were portions that were partly remote before and now really fully remote. And I think there are a lot of positives, especially from an accounting perspective, to working remotely. So certainly, some sort of, a system that you use, whether it's, Zoom or, MS Teams or whatever. We use MS Teams at ITBD, which, is a really great tool because you can stay so connected. There's, the chat feature, so you can chat people throughout the day of what's going on. You can, very quickly get on a video call and connect, easily share information, and do all of that. So I think, from a remote perspective, it is really staying connected with the team and, checking in, so checking in every day. As a team, checking in on, different people, managing projects, making sure that, you're staying on top of the different processes and things, and just, then just really getting on a video call so that it's not what it used to be where, you're setting up a formal meeting or whatever. You can just jump on a video call, share whatever someone is working on, help them out, make sure they feel supported. And really work through all of that, and I think it's been really good. I won't say I'm surprised at how well it has worked, but I probably had a tiny hesitancy, like, is this really going to work? But it really does. I haven't found really a big detriment from an accounting perspective of managing that team.
Yeah. So for a small business, no, I see that. Like, I work with you very closely, and I see that we are, in terms of communication, in terms of engagement, for us, it's working out really well. And for a small business, MSP, where their biggest kind of question or concern with the remote employee is this person going to meet my productivity expectations? Mm-hmm. Is this person going to stay engaged with me and my business? So am I going to be able to keep that person engaged with our culture and connected with our brand and the productivity? So how are you doing in terms of your team members meeting productivity expectations when they're working remotely? And if there is anything that you're doing special to drive that productivity and culture, what is that?
Yeah, so productivity is an interesting question because I think that is a question even if you're in the office or if you're remote, because someone could be sitting at their desk and not really doing a whole lot, right? I mean, I think we've all probably worked with people that are not very productive and they're sitting at their desk, but they're not very productive. Yeah. So to me, it really comes down to what are the deliverables and making sure that everyone is very clear of what the expectations are, of what the projects are, of what the deadlines are, and so forth, and then being there to support them through it. But it's not managing the time that they're sitting at their desk for a certain number of hours or whatever. It's really, are they accomplishing the work that needs to be accomplished? So that's really more of what I focus on, which I think has worked well for our team. And also, that we're professionals. And so it shouldn't be about, is someone sitting at their desk exactly at, 8 o'clock or whatever that is. So those are some of the things that I would really focus on.
Okay. Thank you, Susanne. Thank you for your valuable insights, your experience, sharing that experience with our partners, with our channel. And three key things: having the right business planning process and having your goals and making sure that it's built to with that flexibility, that agile that you talk about nowadays, that you can pivot if you need to, and having reliable systems and a reliable team. So thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with us, and I appreciate you coming to my podcast.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.